I'm Joseph,
And I'm Nick.
and this is Fish Jelly.
Sure is
How are you?
good, maybe a tiny bit dead inside today, but still good. How are you?
Well, welcome to my existence. We were up late, having a gay old time. My sister's visiting. So we
Mm-hmm.
were talking, and next thing I know, it's damn near the crack of dawn. Break the Dawn, Michelle Williams. You
Yes,
like that
I
song.
do like that song. I listened to it a fair amount.
What year did that come out?
Wasn't it '08?
Yeah, that was like heavy on your rotation
It
list.
sure was.
I like her.
Because it's got a very emotional undercurrent to it.
Oh, you read into it. I'm sure the writer of that song would appreciate that. I don't know that anyone else felt the same way.
I like when she it's either her or the background singer that starts singing. There's that pause where she says yes a couple of times for enunciation. Yes.
I wanted to start with I saw this news article from a few days ago. There is this um like city official. So Pima County Supervisor Matt Hines, this is a county in Arizona. He was attending like an Arizona board meeting, and you can't see my computer screen, but he's an openly gay man. He ran as a Democrat and was very open about his sexuality. So this is not necessarily a scandal, but he there was this board meeting, and some people were on Zoom who couldn't make it into the office,
Mm-hmm.
and he's on there, and then all of a sudden you see this guy walk in wearing like skimpy underwear and a black tank top, and then he
Uh-huh.
starts to take off his tank top, and then you can see the guy. Um, I'm gonna try to turn my laptop to you. Do you
Oh,
see?
yeah.
And then the guy who's taking off his shirt notices that this, you know, county employee is on Zoom. So he immediately like puts down his shirt, and then the guy cuts off his camera
Mm-hmm.
and then continues with the meeting. And then there was some backlash, mainly on social media, like people commenting like, "Oh, that's why you couldn't come into work because you were busy hooking up." And I don't know that I have an opinion about this, except I think that like my thoughts on working from home.
Mm-hmm.
How to like I think I feel like for people who have to work from home, I think that like little faux pas that happen, like oh your dog is jumping on you, your cat, your kids are screaming, there's noise outside, the landscaper is here. It's kind of like for me, like I'm forced to work from home. So I don't know that this is appropriate, obviously, but it's also like this is my office. Like my home is my office. And if some person who I've let into my home walks by the camera without clothes on, it's like, well, I don't know. Like maybe you need to provide me with an office. Maybe I don't know if that seems stupid, but
No, but
I think what we consider professional and acceptable might need to change, because it's like I'm not in a professional environment. I'm in my house, and there's no option for me to go. Like if I want to, I mean, if I wanted to go to work, I could, but that's not something that is being encouraged. So effectively, like I need to work from home. So and no one's providing me with an office space. I had to create one in my own home for the job that I have. But yeah, I feel bad for some people, because I know a lot of the rhetoric is like, I'm so tired of hearing your kids crying, your dogs barking. And it's like, well, I'm kind of forced to be here. Like, y'all aren't giving me a space to work. And I can't like lock up my entire life over you needing me to work from home.
sure.
So that's what it made. So I kind of felt bad, because this seems kind of like this doesn't look. This looks like he's in his. I don't know if it's his bedroom or his.
Probably, yeah.
But it's like if he lives, if this guy is like someone he's dating who lives with him, it's like, well, this is my space too. Granted, he could have gone into he could have gone into like City Hall or wherever this was taking place, but
Well, who
anyway,
knows what else was happening in his life that day, and it really doesn't matter.
I just felt bad because I was reading the comments on the post, and it's like people are so
Well,
unreasonable.
people
Like
are raggedy, so and feel like they need to have an opinion about everything. When it's like, really,
that was
did
random.
it stop him from doing his job?
But the bigger thing I wanted to talk about is several people were asking what you thought about the Golden Globes. So what I thought might be interesting, since you voted for the LA Film Critics Association,
Mm-hmm.
maybe what will be fun is for the major categories, you can tell me who you um nominated, because you picked two for each category.
Hmm.
And then after you do that, then I'll say who won at the Golden Globes, and then maybe you can talk about that if you remember who you voted for.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so for Best Picture, who were your two choices?
I think Tar and Everything Everywhere All at Once,
So Tar was nominated for the Golden Globes, but Everything Everywhere All at Once wasn't. And the winner was The Fablemans.
which I didn't really like.
Avatar: The Way of Water was nominated for Best Motion Picture Drama. I'm
Hmm.
kind of surprised.
I'm not. It's a moneymaker.
But yeah, The Fablemans won, which I'm very surprised about. Okay, for Best Performance by an Actress in a Motion Picture
Oh,
Drama.
the other thing to notice, we threw gender out the window for Lafka. So
So LAFCA is not doing gendered acting. They're just giving two awards.
yes,
So it could be two people who identify as male, two identifies
right.
female, so on.
Of which there was a lot of contention about, but you
So
know,
who were the two actors you nominated for
I
Best
think I
Actor?
think I only voted for women.
And who were they?
Uh, I voted for Sigourney Weaver
The Good House.
because nobody's giving her any kind of buzz, and I had to sound that little trumpet. Kate Blanchett and Daniel Deadweiler were my top three.
Well, the only person who actually made it on was Kate Blanchett, and she was the winner.
Hmm. Which I'm
You
happy about.
didn't vote for any men, but the winner for Best Actor in a Motion Picture was Austin Butler for Elvis. The
With
nominees were Austin Butler, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, Hugh Jackman for The Sun, Bill Nighy for Living. I haven't seen that movie, and Jeremy Pope for The Inspection.
Oh wow, I guess I didn't really look at I because I really don't care about the Globes.
And I know that you don't. So when people kept asking, like in the comments, I thought this man does not care about the Golden. He doesn't care about the Oscars really either. But this is interesting. I do think I'm surprised Hugh Jackman was nominated.
Oh yeah, I saw a headline, because I do daily news searches on Sigourney and Isabelle Huppert, and apparently, because Isabelle Huppert has worked with Florian Zeller on the stage, and her reaction to The Sun was, Isabel raves about Hugh Jackman's performance, but if you ever read her comments, she's also throwing shade because she's like, "Yeah, you could totally uh, understand his character way much more than his son."
Yeah. I didn't see Bill Nighy in Living, so I can't really.
It is worth watching. I think when it came out, for you would have seen it. There was a lot going on. It's of course a remake of an Akira Kurosawa film, and in at LAFCA, the two best acting awards we gave to were for Kate and Bill Nighy.
Oh, well, from the list of the four that I do know, I probably would have picked Austin Butler. I did find him kind of captivating, even though the movie to me is a mess. But
Yeah, I think he's the best part of it. But I really, yeah, I didn't like that movie
for Best Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy, The Banshees of Inisherin won, which I did like.
enough.
But it beat
Sure.
Babylon, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Glass Onion, The Knives Out Mystery, and Triangle of Sadness. I don't know why Glass Onion is in there, except that it was a big comedy that came out. Um,
Yeah, it's and Banshee's winning over Everything Everywhere All at Once, but whatever.
so best performance in an by an actress in a musical or comedy went to Michelle Yeoh in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Which is very nice.
Best performance by an actor, musical or comedy, went to Colin Farrell. He beat out Diego Calva, Daniel Craig, Adam Driver, and Rafe Fiennes.
What was Ray Fiennes nominated for?
The Menu.
Oh,
And
and
Adam Driver was for White Noise. Daniel Craig was for Glass Onion, and Diego Calva was for Babylon.
I,
His performance wasn't comedic, though.
no, I
I
don't
don't
think
even know
that's
that I would consider that movie comedic.
no. It slides directly into desperation. But that see that I appreciate the Golden Globes try to separate something. It gives more a chance for more people in their work
True.
to be honored. But at the same time, it's like sometimes y'all be forced. It's like that year that The Tourist with Angelina Jolie and Johnny Depp came out, and they gave that stupid, terrible film a bunch of nominations in the comedy sections.
Best animated picture went to Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, but the other nominees were Inu O, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, and Turning Red.
God, I still haven't seen Turning Red.
Did you see Inu O?
No.
I definitely liked Marcel the Shell and Puss in Boots more than Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Um, But anyway,
I
oh,
I did
I think
too.
you would have thoughts on these best motion picture non-English. What did you vote for LAFCA?
Oh God, I don't remember now. Actually,
The nominees are All Quiet on the Western Front, Argentina, 1985,
that one didn't it?
Close, Decision to Leave, and
Close,
RRR. Oh, Close.
which you'll be watching this
Wait, do
week.
you spell close and close the same way?
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So I'm not that stupid.
context, darling. Yeah, you'll be watching Close this week. Out of those nominees, I probably would have picked Close, but um,
Argentina 1985 one.
again, there's nothing wrong with that, and I've talked about this before, and I know there are people that really love this film by Santiago Mitre, which was in Venice where I saw it, and it's fine, but it is a procedural about a very significant court case in the country and year that it's set in, and it cuts a lot of corners if you know about the history at all, but it's fine.
For best supporting actress, I know this one because it got a lot of attention. Angela Bassett won for Black Panther, but the other nominees were Carrie Condon,
Hmm.
Jamie Lee Curtis, Dolly De Leon, and Carrie Mulligan. I was surprised to see Carrie Mulligan because I did not think She Said was a great movie, and I certainly didn't think Carrie Mulligan was good in it
I
or
agree.
exceptional.
I agree. Best supporting actress in the industry has been kind of an odd. The names that have been touted around have been kind of like an odd melange of people. Like nobody was really clear about who they wanted to support. But it's nice to see Angela Bassett get attention
I
she
didn't
deserves.
see Black Panther Wakanda Forever, so I can't really, I
Her,
don't have an opinion,
I
I
mean, her
guess.
performance definitely elevates that material. But
Of the four I have seen, yeah. I don't know. I thought Dolly De Leon was really good.
Dolly De Leon's really good
Jamie Lee Curtis
as
is
a
really
Jamie
good. I
Lee.
think Carrie Condon was really good. But yeah, I need to watch Black Panther. Okay, best supporting actor went to Ki Hugh Kwan
Hmm.
for Everything Everywhere All at Once. But the other nominees were Brendan Gleeson, Barry Keoghan, who I really liked in The Banshees of Inisherin,
Yeah.
Brad Pitt, who I liked in Babylon, and I thought Eddie Redmayne was good in The Good Nurse. These I've all seen, and I think they all were very good performances.
Yes, and it's nice to see Kihi Kwan win because, as I said, even as a kid, just even watching that Everything Everywhere All at Once and hearing his voice brings me directly back to
Yeah.
my childhood and watching The
Short round.
Goonies and Short Round and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Do you know who won for Best Director?
Was it Spielberg?
The nominees are James Cameron, Daniel Kwan, and Daniel Scheinert,
Yeah,
Baz Luhrmann, Martin McDonough, and Steven Spielberg. And Spielberg won.
I mean,
I feel like I've seen all of these movies. I don't know. I think the Daniels should have won.
I agree, but also
They did a lot with probably, I bet you the Fablemans had a bigger budget than Everything Everywhere All at Once.
probably,
And that movie was so basic to me.
yeah, because it
If
was.
you told me that was like a made for TV movie, I would be like, oh, that's a nice made for TV movie.
Hmm.
So I'm a little like, okay.
But it's notable. The SAG nominations that came out after this excluded Little White Michelle Williams and replaced her with Ana de Armas from Blonde. And
Well, that's the Golden Globes. I guess we're all waiting in great anticipation for the Oscar
I'm
nominations.
not. I'm waiting in great anticipation to see what's going to be competing in Berlin, since Rebecca Miller's new film has been announced as the opener.
Oh boy.
And I've heard that there are rumors that Berlin, for the first time, has reached gender parity in its competition.
Oh.
So I'm very curious to see who, what, how that will happen. Why? Anyway,
Moving on to questions. We received a couple of comments about why I don't like amusement parks, and I don't know if it's because of that one documentary we reviewed. I don't know if that one suddenly got more views, so then there were comments.
interesting.
And I
Okay.
guess I commented in that I don't like amusement parks. I don't have a disdain for amusement parks. I just don't like my body being flung around. And every time I have gone, which hasn't been for many, many years, I always feel like I end up with whiplash and nausea. You and I actually went to Magic Mountain. That was the last time I was at an amusement
That was a
park.
few Christmases ago.
And we couldn't,
Which I'm telling you is the time to go. You can get all the rides you want.
we got there right when they opened and we didn't have to wait. I mean, we
No.
rode like 4 rides and it was like 30 minutes in.
And then I'm like, I think I'm good. I think I'm good.
Nick wasn't like super excited to stay, and I was feeling nauseated from being flung around. So that's why I don't like amusement parks. But I think they're fun, and if you feel safe and your body can handle it, the older I get too.
Well, there are things that the thrill cannot be recreated. Like the thrill as a kid getting on a roller coaster, it's not the same. I don't know.
Well, and I know people often say like, "Would you do this? Would you zip line?" And then I feel
Yes, I
like people,
would.
and I always say no, and people I think that I'm afraid. I'm not afraid of heights. I could zip line. I could, you can drop me from 20 stories in that little, roller coaster ride. I could do it. I just feel like it's a lot on my
You can
body,
do it, put your back into it.
and I'm, a fragile spirit. Uh,
Well,
and then,
no, not really.
well, maybe not my spirit. My body's fragile.
No,
Uh,
not really.
oh boy. Okay, so then I have some questions.
Oh, for who?
The world, anyone listening, feel free to comment. Does anyone know how many times Angelina Jolie says "my son" in The Changeling? That's a
Oh,
question I
I don't.
have.
I don't know that I want to rewatch that movie to find out, but we can because you haven't seen it.
And another question I have is, how do people know the boy is in a coma in the movie Skinamarink?
Ugh.
We watched this movie on Friday. We posted the video on Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of like messages about, well, the boy's in the coma and it's through his eyes. And I just don't know, like,
Even
we
though,
watched it. There were four of us watching it,
mm-hmm.
and none of us picked that up.
And none of us
Then
were
there are many comments in the video, like in the actual YouTube video, people saying like they didn't know what was going on. So I feel like the people who are trying to make me sound stupid, did you read that the boy was in a coma?
Well, it's like how I read ahead of time that it was about two children waking up in a house without doors or windows, and I don't get that impression watching
If
it.
if I didn't read that there were no doors and windows at a point, I would not have caught that like the doors and windows. I
It
mean, I did notice in a couple scenes that there's a door and then there's not, but the like that doesn't feel like the main focus of the story.
well, I also it wasn't hammered home that that door disappeared forever in that
I do
universe.
recall hearing like, oh, the boy hurt himself, but it's like I wouldn't have put it together that he's in a coma, and then an hour, 30 minutes later that he's like it's been 572 days that he's been in a coma. Anyway, I think that movie is controversial, and in the sense that there are people who are saying it's the scariest thing they've ever seen, and I'm just having a hard time processing that. But
Well, because I think that's an inflated view. But even with that information, that should have been.
there should have been a 15-minute short, which it
It should
was.
have been a 15-minute
Which
short.
people were like, "You guys need to do your research. It was a short." Okay, I didn't know that,
Well, I actually do say in that review that he
but that
directed.
doesn't change my opinion. Like this movie was too damn long for what it was. Like there wasn't enough material to keep it engaging for an hour 40 minutes.
No. And even knowing that information does not make it rewatchable. It's not like David Lynch's Eraserhead, where, oh, you might be able to notice different things or have different theories about all the weirdness, the extravaganza of weirdness going on.
I can't even say you could keep this in the background because there's nothing to see. There's nothing to see. You can't even see what's on the screen, and there's no sound. So it's like you couldn't even create a mood with this movie.
And guess
You'd have
what?
to you'd have to be on drugs in like a pitch black room.
And guess what? It's okay not to like things.
Right. Yeah, and it's okay to like things. Like
Yeah.
you can love a movie, but that doesn't mean it's like the greatest movie of all time. It's just your favorite. There's nothing in the sorry to this man section. Films released we didn't cover. The movie Plane with
I mean, I asked the publicist and they were just like, I don't think we're showing this for to
it
press.
looked terrible.
But it's directed by Jean-Francois Richet, who, when he's working in French, I don't mind, like the Mayrine film starring Vincent Cassel. Or, he remade Claude Berry's One Wild Moment a few years ago, which I didn't mind his remake of. But you know what I didn't know? Because I've never seen it. Blame It on Rio is also a remake of One Wild Moment.
Blame it on Rio.
Yeah, isn't that Michael Caine and Demi Moore from
Oh.
like 84 or something?
Well, if it's streaming, I would definitely watch it. I do like Gerard Butler. And I like cheesy action movies. So
Sure.
I'm sure it's
And
amusing.
it also stars Mike Coulter.
Dog Gone.
Oh God, this looks terrible. But it's about Rob Lowe playing a guy and his son who go on a walk and I think repair their relationship or something like that. But it's a Netflix film directed by Stephen Herrick, who you genre hound should recognize as the director of Critters.
Oh. Okay, something called Dormouse.
Yeah, this sounds interesting. I don't recall the plot off the top of my head, but if there, if I had not done anything else this week, I might have made time for this, but it was a busy week. It sounds quite interesting. It's directed by, I hope I'm saying his name right, Avan Yogia, who is the handsome young man in the film Shaft, the latest iteration of that with Samuel Jackson, which I did like that movie. But yeah, if I had time, I would have watched it.
Kitchen Brigade.
French film directed by Louis Julien Petit, starring Francois Cluzet, about a young woman who I think starts working in a shelter, Audrey Lamy, and then starts helping, I think, unhoused people through the art of her cuisine or something.
Next is something called On Sacred Ground.
I didn't even write that. This looks like one of those. It's definitely a social issue movie that was looks like it was stapled together about the Dakota Access Pipeline dilemma. Tom Cruise's cousin William Mapother is in it. It doesn't look like it's high quality.
Lastly, Sick.
Peacock film directed by John Hyams. I think somebody during our live chat said they were watching this. John Hyams directed the movie Alone, which we reviewed over the pandemic, about the woman that gets abducted and put in that house. Anyway, notably, it was directed by, or it was scripted by Kevin Williamson, who wrote something called Scream.
Oh, well, I would watch it. Okay, movies we watch for fun. So, there's a podcast that I've listened to every episode of. It's called Bad Gay Movies, Bitchy Gay Men, Bad Gay Movies, BGM. And they invited us to be on it separately. So I'm doing an episode on my own for some reason. Someone trusts me. And then Nick is doing an episode on his own. And the movie I selected with the help of Nick is something called Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker, which is a film from 1983.
I thought it was 82.
I'm probably wrong. But I'm not going to talk about it because people can listen to the podcast, but I would highly recommend watching it. It is extremely homophobic. Susan Tyrrell is so over the top and fun. I can't imagine anyone not having a good time watching it.
And starring Jimmy McNichol, the brother of Christy McNichol, and the fabulous, fantastic Susan Tyrrell, who I love. And if you've seen a Susan Tyrrell movie, you can't forget her. Back in the day, Joseph has no memory of this, but I had a movie night for this in 2012 as a double feature with Windows, starring Talia Shire and Elizabeth Ashley, talking about early 80s homophobic films.
Well, once I know when it's coming out, I'll let people know. I'm assuming it'll be sometime between March and like the beginning of the summer.
And then I record mine on The Killing of Sister George later this week.
Oh yeah, so we'll be watching that.
Which is, I think it's
today or tomorrow.
Directed by Robert Aldrich, of course, of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane fame.
The next film we watch for fun is something called Bellissima.
I did, yeah. Luchino Visconti, his third feature, I think, from 1951. I have owned this on Region 2 for damn near 20 years, and I'm a huge Anna Magnani fan, and I saw it on the shelf because I was digging for something, and I'm like, oh, I need to watch that. Yes, it's from 1951. Again, a fantastic Anna Magnani performance about this working class Italian mother who wants that there's auditions for a film, and they want a little girl, and she does whatever she can to get her daughter this audition, who's shortlisted for the role, and just kind of she's very over the top and dare I say Italian in it, but yeah, fantastic. It's always electric watching her.
Something called Moonlighting.
There's the Jerzy Skolimowski retrospective going on at Los Feliz. I've probably talked about many times already, but I made it to his 1982 film Moonlighting. I saw it at 10 o'clock last Tuesday at the Los Feliz, and I was surprised at the number of people that actually showed up. But it's pretty damn good about the collapse of the Solidarity movement in Poland in the early 80s. And Skolimowski works that into this really intriguing tale about Jeremy Irons with three of his comrades sneaking all these tools into the UK to build his boss a cheap labor to renovate this apartment house for him in London. So it's really a snapshot of London in the early 80s as well, and kind of how xenophobic all these assholes are to them. But just Jeremy Irons trying to keep it together, and who is quite handsome at the time. Yeah, highly enjoyable, and I hope to catch one or two other Skolimowski films this week that I
Lastly,
haven't seen.
we watched something called Tammy and the T-Rex. What platform was it on? AMC?
I'm not sure. It would
We
we
saw it through Amazon Prime, but I think it was through our AMC subscription. Either way, it's called Tammy and the T-Rex. It's from 1994.
for
It stars Denise Richards and Paul Walker.
and it's directed by Stuart Raffel, who directed Mac and Me.
If you have access to it, you need to watch this movie. It is a good time. And just to give a little background, so apparently this person who had like a robotic T-Rex, like the size of like a Jurassic Park robotic T-Rex, was like transporting it to its next job, and came in contact with this person who was looking to make a film and said like, well, I have this T-Rex you can use
For a month.
and like, but you have to start filming in 2 weeks. So the person was like, well, let me make a movie about a T-Rex. And the movie that was written is about this this high school couple, Denise Richards and Paul Walker. Paul Walker gets killed, and this mad scientist played by the guy who plays Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's,
Yeah.
he uses Paul Walker's brain and transplants it into this robotic T-Rex. So you have this robotic T-Rex running around that's sentient with Paul Walker's consciousness, fucking shit up. And I was so highly amused.
Yes,
It
Terry.
is. I can't even say it's so bad as good. I actually thought it was a fun movie.
It's
Like
fun.
it's legitimately fun.
I think the Denise Richards performance is quite fun. It's also kind of a send up of 40s, 50s sci-fi movies, again, where
Mhm.
people's brains are just like hanging around on plates.
Denise Richards looks fantastic.
The fashion is also quite entertaining,
Her best friend is this gay black man,
played by Theo Forsett.
and he's like unapologetically gay.
Mhm.
And their chemistry, like the way it's written, I actually thought was very charming, because it's like they're friends.
Mhm.
Like, and she acknowledges he's gay, and she'll like rib him like, no. There's a scene where they have to pick out a body for Paul Walker. Like they're trying to find a new body for Paul Walker's brain, and they're like looking at men and being pretty like,
In the morgue.
yeah, like pretty, explicit about like what's important to them in a man's
Well, it's
physique.
because he pulls out this body that looks like a Jewish man, and he's like, "Oh, he's beautiful." And Denise pulls back the sheet over him, and then she's like, "Oh no, not for me."
She sees his penis, and it's like something about it didn't work for her, because he was a handsome man. But
Right.
yeah. And then Paul Walker is young and so handsome. And then like the bully who's like kind of responsible for killing Paul Walker, I think is funny, because he's more puny than Paul Walker. It somehow
Yeah.
whoops his ass.
Oh, they have this fight scene where they grab each other's crotches.
That's funny. The mad scientist, like
Terry-
henchwoman, is like this Amazonian looking woman.
Helga. Terry Kaiser is Dr. Walkenstein, who's kind of, a Frankenstein reference as well.
Oh, and then the kid who played Malachi in Children of the Corn.
Oh, yes.
He's in this movie playing like the scientist, like other scientists.
And then one of the other bad kids is played by Sean Whalen from People Under the Stairs.
That's right. I was howling the entire time. It's especially funny because T-Rex arms, these little arms, but it's clear that like whenever we see the arms doing stuff, it's like a person wearing gloves.
Mhm.
And the dexterity of these hands and what it's doing, and it's giving people the finger and saying yes, no, I thought was supremely funny.
And
waving. The fact that they kind of humanized the T-Rex.
Yeah.
Like he seems like sweet because it's Paul Walker, and
Mhm.
his character is a very sweet guy. Oh my god.
It's
Even Paul Walker interacting with the gay guy for the first time was very sweet.
Mhm.
Like he's like, because Denise says, oh, do you know whatever his name was? And Paul's like, yeah, everyone knows him.
Byron.
Everyone knows Byron. But he's like nice to him.
Mhm.
Like it doesn't bother him that
Well,
he's
because as the T-Rex, he picks him up during this one rampage sequence, and he like brushes off his shoulder.
Yeah, there's a scene where the
As the
gay guy
T-Rex.
like gets kind of hurt and falls down, and the T-Rex, like, this is before the gay guy knows that Paul Walker's the T-Rex. And yeah, he like very gently picks him up and dusts him off. I thought it was very sweet.
And also Byron's father, who is Sheriff Black, also he knows his son is gay, and he's also
Go ahead. Oh, well, we're running out of time. I need to take a quick break.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, hold on. Okay, sorry, I cut you off. You were talking about Byron's dad. He's like the county sheriff.
Mhm. And he clearly knows his son's gay, but has a kind of a a warm relationship with him. But at one point, George Buck Flower, as one of the other cops, almost drops the F slur,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
Yeah. I I I don't know. I would applaud this movie. What would I give it? I mean, I would say I'd probably give it like I enjoyed it like level 4 out of 5, but like as a film, I'd probably give it like 2.5.
I can see why it's a cult classic.
But I would highly recommend checking it out if you have access.
Mhm.
Okay, projects of interest. Kane Mutiny Court Martial.
We forgot to mention this last week because I think there were a lot of items, but William Friedkin is making another film finally, and it's going to be, I guess, kind of a follow up or the same thing as the classic, The Kane Mutiny. So that should be interesting.
War with the Newts.
Yeah, this is based on. I have the book by Karel Capek, Czech writer, who is the reason we developed the terminology for robots in his 1920 short story novella RUR.
Oh,
But yeah, very notable writer. But there is a animated film currently being made based on the novel, which means I'll probably have to read that soon, by Aurel Klimt.
lastly, Haunted Heart.
Fernando Trueba is making another film starring Matt Dillon, but apparently it's got Patricia Highsmith Hitchcock vibes. Apparently, I hadn't heard of it. It's right now. I've only heard of it because it just went into post production. Oh, and also will be at Ion Cinema. The countdown is now going on for the top 200 most anticipated international films of 2023, and I had
Mhm.
to record videos for him for the top 10 of those. So those will be coming out.
And then just to give a shout out, because Nick has blessed us with some reviews on our website, fishjellyfilmreviews.com.
Mm-hmm.
And you did one for a film called The Man in the Basement
Mm-hmm.
and another for Let It Be Morning.
Yes.
So if people want to read Nick's quality writing, they're also non-spoiler reviews.
Mm-hmm.
So I know some people crave that. We're not double dipping though. Like Nick's not gonna write a spoiler free review for a film we made a
No,
YouTube
these
video
are
for.
things that I wouldn't be able to get Joseph to watch, and I think both of these are coming to like L.A., New York theaters in. Like Man in the Basement comes out the 27th of January, and Let It Be Morning comes out February 3rd. So you drop them ahead of time, but yeah.
We do have some entries in the obituary section. So Lynette Hardaway died. And for people who don't know how that is, do you remember those two black ladies, Diamond and Silk, who were like pro-Trump people and they were at all the rallies?
Yes.
Well, Diamond done died. She passed away at her home. Donald Trump even wrote like Diamond's death was totally unexpected. Probably her big and precious heart just plain gave out. Um, after she made a fool of her damn self. Not that she can be Republican or not that she can't support Trump, but I thought she was a fucking clown. But anyway, after she did all that, she did get some notoriety and was on some platforms but she was a fervent like COVID-19 vaccine opponent. And
Mm-hmm.
guess what this bitch died from? But her death is not funny, but and I probably shouldn't have used the bitch to describe her, so I apologize. But I don't know. I could go on and on about what it's not about these two people, but sort of like what they represent. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like they were sort of used. Like
Sure.
they can be Republican, they can support Donald Trump as president, but I think the way they allowed themselves to be put out there was not helpful. Like,
No, not at all. Not at
but
all.
yeah, I don't like to talk about politics a lot. So, but she did die, and then Lisa Marie Presley died,
Wow. Yeah, that's I
which was wild.
yeah, that I don't know. I thought that was really kind of bummed me out a little bit, I guess, but not that I feel completely attached to the Presley clan, but I remember her as a kid. I think that I had carried respect for her for kind of defending Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I had some. Yeah, I mean, and like just from my own perspective, like during that Velvet Rope era, that's when she married Michael, and I
Mm-hmm.
remember her doing stuff with like Janet, and they'd be
Mm-hmm.
places, and I feel like she probably really did. Like, what a hard life. Like, my dad is the most famous man in the world,
And the men that are like messing with me, like Nick
are
Cage
obsessed
too.
with my dad,
Hmm.
and then it's like the scrutiny she was under, and the vices and the demons, and like all the things that someone in her position had to deal with. And
And she had a son, Riley Keough's brother, committed suicide a couple years ago. So there's a lot of
she was
tragedy.
young, and then I like watching the footage from the Golden Globes. She looks so fragile, and it's just like, so from what I believe, I feel like she's obviously at peace now, and so
Sure.
that feels nice, I'm sure. But yeah, that was shocking.
Yeah, I definitely, definitely didn't expect that.
Okay, for the secret movie this week, it was my decision. And my original decision was for Revolutionary Road, the movie with Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio,
Hmm.
but we couldn't find it.
I've now corrected that
Did you buy it?
issue. Yeah.
Oh, Lord. So now we have that movie in the house.
Well, God.
So I will be choosing Revolutionary Road, but we had to buy it. We couldn't find it streaming for some reason. So that'll be a future episode.
Hmm.
So the film I did choose is the 1999 American science fiction horror film Virus. It's directed by a visual effects artist named John Bruno, and it stars Jamie Lee Curtis, William Baldwin, and Donald
And
Sutherland.
Joanna Pacula.
I chose this movie because I was listening to a podcast, um, and I think it was the regular exclusive podcast, which is another one I listened to. And I believe it was them talking about Jamie Lee Curtis saying in an interview about this movie. And this is a quote from her: "That would be the all time piece of shit. It's just dreadful. That's the only good reason to be in bad movies. Then when your friends have bad movies, you can say, ah, I've got the best one. I'm bringing Virus." And then she also said once that she tried to get the director fired because of how bad she thought the film was.
Yeah, which is because he did special effects for James Cameron films, like on True Lies, and I think she wanted Steve Miner, who directed Halloween H2O.
So that's what prompted me to watch it. But unfortunately, it is not a good movie, but it wasn't fun to watch.
And we're recording this on the 24th anniversary of its release.
Yeah, so that's an interesting coincidence. This film came out on January 15th, 1999. It's
I remember renting this on VHS with my dad, and he hated it because it's stupid. But it was supposed to be a summer 1998 blockbuster, and they pushed it.
Yeah,
They,
so this is the
they
24th anniversary of this movie. It's super generic. It's
Yep.
like every late 90s, early 2000s, like sci-fi, horror, action type film. There's nothing original to it. The story is dumb as hell. It's so boring. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So, yeah, this was a bear to get through. But the basic story is that Donald Sutherland is the captain of a like cargo
Like a salvage
boat.
ship.
It's like a salvage ship, and he's caught in a typhoon, and his ship gets damaged, and he doesn't want to retreat because he needs to make this money. And then he comes across a big like war ship,
A Russian.
a Russian ship, and he's like, well, we can salvage that and make a bunch of money, like millions of dollars off this boat.
But
Which,
maritime laws are only if there are no survivors.
so we find out, because this is the opening of the film, that ship is incapacitated because some like alien electrical power thing in outer space comes in contact with a satellite, and then that satellite shoots this like virus like into the satellite of this Russian ship, and
Mhm.
that's what hems it up. And this virus is just like any other alien creature, any other thing that invades a space, and it's trying to overtake the occupants of the ship, which it has successfully done, except for two people.
Mhm.
And the virus's mission is to create, like, it needs organic material to persist, which is such a dumb plot. Just don't
It
understand. Like,
doesn't make any
computers and robots can operate off of machinery, like hardware.
organic matter is a hindrance to you because
I would think it's a hindrance.
yeah, and then it doesn't make sense that the two people alive are like the ship's captain and the
His
chief,
wife.
the chief science officer or whatever. Joanna, I think her last name is pronounced Pakula, the Polish actor who's in a wonderful camp fest called The Kiss.
But of course, like every movie with this plot, it's like, someone or some people have to survive until the end to destroy the bad thing. And
Hmm.
so that would be William Baldwin and Jamie Lee Curtis destroy the ship, effectively killing the virus. The
And
end.
Jamie Lee reads very lesbian to me in this. And there's this Billy, because I thought she had more chemistry with Pakula than William Baldwin.
Yeah, they have no chemistry. She seems mad, which she probably was based on her comments. It's just really like it's like watching people doing a job that like when someone serves you and you can tell they're not happy with their job. That's how I felt watching this movie. Like, and maybe I'm influenced by knowing she hated it, but
Sure.
it definitely does not feel like this was a fun movie.
No, there's no one's having any fun, and even the dialogue too. There are so many lines that are about situating where they're going. It's in the main computer room. Now we're going to the aircraft carrier room. Now we're going to the coat room. Now we need to go to the extra custard room. It just
Yeah, I was starting to write down bad dialogue and then I just stopped.
and
But
where characters always have to say their name, like it's me, Baker, Foster, Nadia, Richie, Squeaky, Hiko, and of course Kiko, played by Cliff Curtis. That that's an interesting supporting role because they take pains to uh, talk about how he's Maori, etc. Marshall Bell is also one of the people in it.
there are other lines like "I got a bad latissimus" or "That's one hell of a flame." You think? Like, what are we talking about here? But anyway, just quickly, we need to wrap this up. I'm going through my notes. My first note is this story is just stupid. It's
Hmm.
just dumb. It's so derivative. There's nothing. There's just nothing about it that was interesting. I just felt like I was just watching. I don't even know. I probably would have been more entertained watching someone else play a video game
Well,
about like mercenaries on a ship. Like,
there's also nothing really innately interesting about watching an electrical virus sweep through.
well, because then they're spending. That's my next note. They're spending a lot of time explaining that computers need electricity and
Yes.
that they need to somehow turn off the electricity, and it just feels like a problem that isn't that difficult to
When they
eradicate.
get through
And
the
also, y'all, I mean, their ship is destroyed, so they can't get off the boat now.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just feel like do you think the audience is just like so dumb that
When you're going through the bowels, they're going through the bowels of the ship, and there's all these like hanging cords. Like somebody tried to disassemble all the.
when when Donald Sutherland's on his ship approaching the Russian ship, Jamie Lee has a book, like a big
Yeah.
reference book that apparently has every ship ever made. And so she's flipping through her book and she's like, "Oh, this is the blah blah blah, and it has 24 labs and 8 blah blah blah." I thought that maybe that is a reference book every ship has, but I just thought it was so funny that like that was the way they explained.
Oh, it's opening, and the aim of the story is that they need to salvage this ship and apparently spread $30 million amongst the 10 of them or however many the crew is. It reminded me of another terrible film, Beyond the Poseidon Adventure, because that's the main thrust of that story is this salvage ship going back to this capsized boat because they're going to claim all the bounty of riches on it.
Then I was thinking, when did computer viruses become a thing? Was that in the late 90s? Like 96? Like is that when we were getting those Norton discs in the mail
I'm
telling
sure,
us?
yeah.
So I feel like this movie just feels not only is derivative, but it's so like of the time. Like, oh, we're all scared that somebody's going to get in our computer, and
Hmm.
which all of our computers were fucked up back then because we were they
Looking
were
at
all
well,
infected.
looking at things we weren't supposed to,
Yeah.
and
So I mean, I think this could have been done in so many other ways that was so much more effective. Uh, but as it is, um, then yeah, getting back to what you said, like I just don't understand like how this machine doesn't realize that it doesn't need organic material to persist. Because then we do see actual like little robots that look like the things from Transformers, like doing their thing.
that
So why are you like why can't you just be that? What is having human like organs going to help you
yeah,
with?
why do you need a goddamn skull? It just doesn't make what and it reminded me of they're ripping off, things like Alien and The Thing, Carpenter's The Thing, where,
Hmm.
this alien entity is rebuilding life forms. It feels like those scenes in The Thing where you can like the scene where the alien's becoming the dog. That's what it felt like, but not in a very fun or interesting way. And then Donald Sutherland is this Just this really annoying characterization who also seems quite bored as this captain that sides with the alien life form, and then it rips him apart to
Make him
reassemble
a
him.
robot. And even that was so anticlimactic
It
because it
is.
happens all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It's like we see him and then literally cut to the next scene and he's like this huge robot. I feel like we're missing like 15 minutes of something.
But then I read that Donald Sutherland demanded that all his films or all his scenes uh, requiring that level of makeup be shot in one day because he didn't want to put up with it.
Also, that would probably explain
That
why it
probably
just feels like, oh, all of a sudden he's just like this like a huge machine and he's been like dismembered. Um the computer's voice is laughable. The
hmm
way they have it like presented with the like 90s graphics
hmm
and
in the font.
the one thing I will say that I think works well is there are some gruesome scenes, and I do think the practical effects are good. And I guess because the director does that, those do look good.
Sure.
Um, yeah, again, I didn't. The flirtation between William Baldwin and Jamie Lee Curtis was like,
No
and then
one
like you
needs
said, she reads like a lesbian in the movie, so I just don't understand who thought this was like a match made in heaven.
right.
Like,
Yeah, no one needs this. I would have been more interested if she started macking on Joanna, but
okay, the climax of the film Billy, when William Baldwin and Jamie Lee Curtis escape the ship, they have rigged this super elaborate like pod to shoot out of the ship with like parachutes, but there's also like
it
they
all.
they have to ignite something to blow up the ship, and then they also like have to trigger that, and then it's so because they're also like when you would connect like tin cans with a string to talk to someone, that's how it looks because the one
hmm
pod shoots out to then grab the second pod to then grab the parachute to then pull the thing to
The
ignite the
pins out of
ship.
the grenades.
That
Yeah.
shit was like, this is so overly complicated. And it looked cheesy, so it's like, okay.
It just feels all around like a doomed film.
And then the film, the final scene is very much like the end of Titanic when uh they're on that piece of wood and she
hmm
has to just like, but that's not the situation. Jamie Lee and William Baldwin are on one piece of wood like floating in the ocean, and then we see Cliff Curtis on another piece. So she's like, oh my god, his character's name is Hiko, like, Hiko, you're alive. And she pulls back his hair because he has like a beautiful mane of hair covering his face, and we see that he's been infected with the virus.
hmm
So then, of course, as the audience, we're like, "Oh no, it's going to persist." But then we find out she was dreaming.
Yeah,
I didn't need
they
that.
didn't need that
I
dream.
didn't need that. No one needed that nightmare.
No.
Yeah, this was probably a bad choice. It's not fun to talk about. It wasn't fun to watch. I can't even say that. Yeah,
No, Tammy and the T-Rex was actually a lot more fun.
I wish you would have reviewed Tammy and the T Rex,
It's okay
but oh well.
because I would rewatch that anytime. But Virus, I haven't seen this since. I'm sure it
Oh,
came
so
out
you saw it when it came out?
on VHS.
Ugh.
So it would have been like probably that summer when we would have rented it because it took a long time for those things to have come. But it made me want to rewatch because in my mind I think I collapsed this with Walter Hill's Supernova, which Walter Hill had his name taken off of,
Oh
starring Angela Bassett, which I'd be interested in revisiting as well.
well, that's all we have for virus. This will be a busy week, I think.
Yeah,
Excuse me
we have a few things to
as I
take care
burp
of
into the microphone.
before you go out of town.
We do have a couple videos releasing this coming week. Tomorrow, the film When You Finish Saving the World with Julianne Moore.
mhm.
And then a few days later, Missing with Nia Long.
And technically, we could post Missing early, but it's spoiler heavy, and there was a coterie of people involved in the film that warned us not to spoil this classic. But
So I do want to be mildly respectful.
mhm.
So I'm delaying that until the day it comes out on availability. But yeah. Are you reading anything?
I'm actually reading because I finished Street of Crocodiles, and I've been reading kind of slowly because it's a different kind of thing altogether. Is Emile Zola's The Dreyfus Affair? Because I want to. I've had a copy of that for years, and I want to read it before I watch the Polanski film, An Officer and a Spy. Uh, but it's interesting, and then but I might have to pause it
Because
because I want to read The Black Eyed Blonde, which is the basis of the new Neil Jordan film Marlowe, starring Liam Neeson and Jessica Lange, which is being dumped in
Mm.
February. But again, with I'll probably be rushing through a bunch of stuff because they're like I want to read Limonov, which I'm hearing is rumored to be in competition in Berlin, and I want to read that book. And yeah, I tend to like to read the book ahead of time for things because if I see the film before I read the book, chances are I won't go back. So I don't know. I like doing that. I still need to watch Kindred on Hulu.
Ugh.
I know
Some well, that feels arduous, and then
reading the book was arduous because I'm like, God,
yeah,
this bothers me. But there's so many interesting things to talk about.
and then there's no time. I always feel like there's no. People will be happy to know we did start Interview with a Vampire
Yeah, we
on
watched
AMC.
2 episodes.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do find Lestat. I like his character and that actor.
he's a little more captivating than Louis, but
Yeah, Louis. I don't know. For some reason, he's kind of bothering me more so like when he's giving the interview
mhm,
versus when he first meets Lestat.
his tortured
But
beginnings.
I'm kind of excited to see like because I don't remember the movie and I didn't read the book, so I don't know what happens to them that they're no longer together.
Oh, I remember very
So
well.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of excited to find out why they're not together.
Well, like I said, as a kid, I literally wanted to be Brad Pitt as a teenager
Who was he?
as Louis. Because
The black guy.
yeah,
Oh,
because he had that tortured angst and of course was beautiful. And it's like, well, I want that for me. Uh,
I want to go there.
but then growing up and realizing like, oh, I'm not going to be that sad girl in the party in the corner anymore. I'm going to get done what I need to get
I'm
done
gonna
for
live,
me.
live, live.
Right. So yeah,
No one's gonna tell me what I. No, what did she say?
no one's going to tell me what to do. What do you think I should do?
What do you think I should do
In the room,
in the room?
Juliet Danielle. Oh,
You do not like two first names
I don't. It's not. Sometimes it works. I can't think of an example, but
because who? Brad Allen or someone?
Ed Allen in
Ed,
the Devil Conspiracy.
not a good movie.
No, but I'm glad people enjoyed our derision.
Yes, that's all I have. Are you done?
Sure.
Bye.